Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, or welcome back if you are a returning viewer. My name is Diamond, aka Lady Leo, and I am so excited to be finally swatching the Holo Birthstone collection. I know this collection came out about a month ago, but it's a pretty big collection, so I had some other things in the docket to record before I did this one, and I wanted to do it right. But I am finally recording this collection, and I am so excited to talk about it. So it's been about a month, but when this collection came out, it was limited edition, and I was really surprised because it's been a very long time since a collection has sold out this quickly. But this collection is sold out, and it sold out pretty much immediately. I think it was the Price is Alexandrite, which I think is the June shade. That was the shade that sold out first, that prevented people from being able to buy the bundle. And then simultaneously, all the other shades went as well. So I think by day 2, the collection was gone. So like I said, it's been a long time since that has happened. And I think Holo does a really good job with forecasting, but you can never predict when a collection is going to be way more popular than the last few have been. So here's to hoping that maybe at the end of the year or going into the new year, Holo announces whether or not they can bring back any of the shades. I don't know if they'll be able to bring back the entire collection because it's a pretty big collection, but here's to hoping they can bring back some of them for anybody that wasn't able to pick up any of the shades. Now, that being said, this collection is themed around the Birthstones. So it is a 12-piece collection, and I'm going to be going in order from January all the way to December. So that being said, I am very, very excited to swatch this collection because this is a huge collection, but not only is it a big collection, all of the formulas are really different, which I find to be really unique. So I didn't watch the full live stream that Christine did when she dropped this because I'm not the biggest live stream person. So I usually do watch maybe the first hour or so, and then after that I just get bored. I'm sorry, I just don't really love live streams. So I'm sure she might have said how long she's been working on it, but I'm assuming this is a collection she's been working on for a long time, and it's a really big drop to do for her birthday. We normally do get something for her birthday, but never something this big. And I didn't know if I was going to pick up the whole collection because, again, 12 polishes, it's a lot to purchase all in one collection. And this one didn't have a collection box, but there was a discount when you purchased it all as a bundle. So once I saw all of the shades, my thought process, if I'm planning on swatching a whole collection, is that if I like 80% of the collection, I think it's worth it to buy the whole collection to just review the whole collection. But it depends on a couple variables. It depends on how big it is. It depends on, if there's a discount, if I buy all of them, etc., etc. There was a little bit of a discount, so I did decide to pick up all of them. I think that this would have been a fun collection box, but it would have been probably a really tricky collection box. You might have had to do 2 separate boxes to sort of accommodate. I think the little box that they come in is really nice. I know some people keep these. I'm going to be wholly honest with you. I do not have space to keep them. Okay, I have a lot of nail polish, and I'm already running out of space, so I really don't have any space to keep the box that the polishes come in. But I do like to show them in the beginning part, as I'm talking. So yeah, we're going to be going from January to December. So let's get started with our first polish. As always, I'm going to be using the Holo Peely base, which I love to use for all of my swatches. I decided to just do full Holo in the sense that the top coat that I'm using, I'm pretty sure I'm using the super glossy taco. I know they don't make this one anymore, but I happen to have a bottle or 2 left. I always liked the way this one looked, but for some reason it gets really, really gummy. I'm sure it has something to do with being exposed to the air, but I stopped buying it before they stopped making it because even though I really like the effect of it, it just gets gummy way before I get to the end of the bottle. But anyway, we're going to be starting with our first, which is Gosh Garnet. So this is representing our January month. So this is described as being a deep garnet burgundy shimmering metallic formula with a subtle red bronze shift. I think when I first took this one out of the box, before I read the name, I was like, garnet, because it does sort of directly when I look at it, because of the way the shift goes, I definitely see that sort of bronze shift. But then when you swirl it around in the bottle in your hand, you definitely get that burgundy. I think it's a really pretty shade for January, because I think my mind immediately goes to, like, when I think of garnet, just like a deep red, but this is definitely more an in-depth red. And when I'm swatching it, you can definitely see that burgundy color a lot more. Whereas from my vantage point, when I'm swatching it, I see it from the opposite angle. So I see more of the bronze, but I like that because I think the bronze is a really nice and a very complementary color to this shade. And it's a great way to start off our birthstones. So this one was Gosh Garnet. Moving on to Crystal Mommy. For Crystal Mommy, she is representing Amethyst, which, even though this is not my birth month, I do love a good purple. So Amethyst is one of my favorite birthstones. So this is an Amethyst crushed holographic formula with scattered holo and a pink micro shimmer underglow. First off, I really loved the crushed holo formula from Holo Taco, which I'm pretty sure was introduced with the Holo Barista collection, which would have been like the January collection from last year, I believe. So that's when like the holo crushed formula, from my recollection, was introduced. And I think it's a really good collection. It's like a really nice mix of like linear holo, but like not. I don't know, there's no other way to describe it. Like, it's holo, but it's not the same thing as like when you put like a linear holo right up against it. And I think having the scattered holo almost gives it like that reflective kind of glitter feel. I'm a big sucker for reflective glitter, so I love the combination of a crushed holo with a scattered holo and like a pink micro shimmer, because the micro shimmer is one of those things that you don't see until you start layering it to get it to be more opaque. And oh, sorry, I forgot to mention, I'll be doing 2 coats, which is typically what I do unless it requires like a 3rd coat to get me to full opacity, if that's what I'm going for. But I think this is such a beautiful shade. I love the combination. It must have been really fun, but also like very time consuming, trying to like work out a way to get the right formula for the effect that you want. So I imagine the brainstorming process and like the testing process is really fun, but super tedious. So this is Crystal Mommy. Moving on to Happily Ever Aqua. This is representing our birthstone for March. This is described as being a pale aquamarine linear holographic formula with a cyan shimmer, which, if I'm not mistaken, cyan is just a different shade of blue. So I think for this one, I like this baby shade of blue, but I always tend to feel like when it comes to very light colors of holo, for me, there's not always a really big payoff because the base shade is so light that like I don't really notice there's a different shade of blue shimmer going on in there. And again, this is not in any way an ugly shade. I'm just saying, personally speaking, I don't think this is one of my favorites because I just don't really get that payoff that I want when I'm wearing like a holo. So I don't tend to love pastels that are this light because I just feel like the holo effect kind of gets lost. It almost looks a little chrome-like, if you will. Well, maybe that's not right. Not chrome-like, but it's just so light you can't really tell that it's holo. So yeah, this is Happily Ever Aqua. So I think it's a pretty shade, but definitely not one of my favorites. Moving on to one of my favorites, Ride or Diamond. It's just because my name is in the name of it. Okay, going on to the next one. This is representing April, and it is a silver diamond extra holographic multi-pigment glitter formula with scattered holo, linear holo, holographic flakes, and reflective glitters. Man, that's a lot of things when you actually read it. You know, and I think for me, what I really love about this is I love duality when a polish can have more than one function. So anytime you can get, you know, more than one use out of a polish in terms of like, can you use it as a topper? Can you use it for nail art? That's always great. So for me, I like this a lot on its own because I think it's kind of like what you want out of like a mix of all the holos, right? Like if you mixed linear with flaky and you mix that with scattered, I think you would get something like this. And this could be a really fun topper, and it's really beautiful on its own as well. And most importantly, like once you start getting to like the 2nd and maybe even 3rd coat, if you want to go 3rd coat, it does very much invoke like a diamond. Obviously, it's the birthstone, but yeah, I love this one, and not just because it has my name in it. Moving on to the Emerald City. Clearly, I'm a huge fan of Wicked. Also, I'm doing the voice recording the weekend that Wicked comes out, so I am so excited to see Wicked. But anyway, so we've got Emerald City, which is representing what I assume would be the month of May, which is Emerald. I don't know all of the birthstones offhand, so some of them I do, some of them I don't. Anyway, this is a cool emerald green iridescent flake formula with a deep green jelly base and a scattered hollow. So what I find so interesting about this one is I didn't know I would like this one so much. First of all, I really love greens, but flaky polishes for me, sometimes they don't always sit with me. It really just depends on the polish. What I love about this one is it feels like there's a shift between like a blue green and like a deep forest green. And you can really see it when I'm applying the polish. You can kind of see it at different angles. So it makes this really unique formula. So not only do you have like the deep green flakies, but when you turn your hand, it almost changes to like a blue-green kind of color, almost sort of like teal. And it's a really fun shift for something like this. And this is definitely up there with one of my favorites. I just think this polish is so beautiful. I absolutely love greens. And I think that shift, it's not described as being a shift, but that's kind of what I see when I look at it. It does looks like a shift between like blue green and like forest green. That shift makes it so much more dynamic for me. So from the Emerald City, we're going to the Price is Alexandrite, which is the shade that sold out that prevented people from buying the bundle. So June is up next. This is described as being an Alexandrite inspired multichrome formula that shifts from teal to purple with purple metallic foil flakes and scattered hollow. So I feel like this one is the most interesting to me for a couple of reasons. It's sort of like what I imagine, or what I would say is like the most common multi-chrome shift was just like a purple teal sort of shift. And then you can definitely see the scattered hollows and the flakies, especially like on that first coat. But this one invokes a lot of shimmer to me. It's sort of like a multi-chrome shimmer, if you will. I'm not the biggest fan of shimmer polishes. I'll kind of get into that when I do the comparisons at the end, considering that at this point in time, Holo Taco has dropped their holiday collection. So for me, I'm genuinely surprised that like this one is the one that sold out, that, you know, prevented people from being able to buy the bundle. Because just to me, I love multi-chromes, but it's sort of like the general or the generic multi-chrome shade. So this again is not one of my favorites. I think it's a combination of the base sort of shift color and then the flakies and, you know, the scattered. I don't know, something about it for me that's just, it just makes it not one of my favorites. And I'm kind of just really surprised that this is the one that sold out. I mean, it's a big collection and you never know what people are gonna like. Plus, if I remember correctly, Christine said that outside of her birthday shade, which would be Birthday Brat in October, they made less of the individual polishes for this one. So there's no way to know how much of this they made. So this selling out could mean that it was popular, but also they had less than say any of the other shades. I don't know. I guess I just find it surprising that like this shade in the 12-piece collection is the one that's sold out. Whereas for me, I think it's fine. I don't think it's ugly. It's just definitely not one of my favorites. It's just a combination of like those elements that I mentioned before that just make it just kind of okay for me. But we're going to move on to our next one, which is Ruby Madly Deeply, representing July. This is described as being a bright ruby red glitter formula with a red jelly base and holographic glitters. I swear I can talk today. I think the first thing that comes to mind when I see this shade is like ruby slippers from Dorothy. Maybe that's because Wicked came out this weekend, but that's kind of what I think about. I love glitters, but this is also different than the glitter that they released. I believe the name of it is Naughty List for the holiday collection a couple years ago. I think it's a brighter red. It's more of like an apple red, whereas the glitter from that collection was maybe like a little more sort of like cherry red, if that makes sense. So I think this is really a simple polish because it's a glitter formula. It's in a red jelly base, which sort of enhances that red color. And then you also have some holographic glitters in there too. So this is one of the more simple ones in terms that there's not like a lot of different types of polishes going in here, but it's one of my favorites because I love reds. I absolutely love glitters, and I just really like the combination of all of these things. And I think that putting it in like a red jelly base using red glitters also just sort of enhances the effect, if that makes sense. So I absolutely love this one. It's definitely in my top 5, 6. I haven't decided like how many I'm putting in my top, but it's definitely up there with one of the top. So now we're moving on to my birth month because I am an August baby, and that's Para Don't Bother Me. This is described as being a peridot lime green shimmer formula with a yellow green shift and green reflective glitters. So am I biased? Am I going to pick my birth month as one of my favorites? First of all, I really love greens. I've actually developed a appreciation for my birthstone more over the years. My favorite color is actually pink, but obviously I'm an August baby, so my pink is not my birth shade. And I don't know why, but I always hated like my actual birthstone when I was younger, like when I got my high school class ring, which is somewhere in my house, because my birthstone was peridot. So I always wanted to get pink, even though that's not your birthstone. Who cares? It's my favorite color. I'm getting off topic. Anyway, my point is that I've grown to appreciate greens way more going forward, and as such, I really love that we get a different type of green in this collection. So it's more of a limey sort of yellow green, and it's a lot more of a shimmer, whereas Emerald City is definitely more of a flaky. So I love the combinations in this one, especially the shimmer that it has going on. I think the shimmer is just really complementary to the color. Yellows and greens go really, really well together. And if you do them right, they look really nice. And this is also giving like Princess Tiana vibes. You know, Tiana doesn't get as much love because she's a newer princess, but it's definitely given like in the Bayou just got married to Prince Naveen at the end of the story, if you will. Moving on to playing with Sapphire, I would just like to say that I am technically an August baby, but I am on the cusp. My birthday is the 21st, so I've always considered myself to be a Leo Virgo and to have traits of both. So I am also claiming the next birthstone, playing with Sapphire. Let's take a look at it. This one is described as being a deep sapphire blue iridescent flake formula with a dark blue jelly base and scattered hollow. When I first saw this one, it invokes like two very specific things in terms of sapphire. So first, I think of like Rose holding the heart of the ocean, or whatever that stone was called, that necklace that she had in Titanic that she legitimately threw into the ocean, that she held on to for decades just to dispose of in the ocean. But that was like a beautiful sapphire, and I think it had like diamonds for like the necklace part of it. And then I also think there was some kind of sapphire that the Duke gave to God, I can't think of her name, from Moulin Rouge, but I can't think of what Nicole Kidman's name was, but y'all know who I'm talking about. And he gave her a sapphire, so it's invoking that. I love the combination about it, because the good thing about jellies is that when you put something in a jelly formula, but when you add other things to it, it can make it way more dynamic, especially when you start layering it. So like the first coat, you don't really see like how dynamic the polish is, but when you put that second one on, it really invokes like city skyline at night, or like the stars, if you will, on a really nice clear night, and you can see like the blue black sky and you can see the stars shining through. I love that kind of effect, so this is definitely one of my favorites. And we're moving on to Christine's birthday month, Birthday Brat, and our only pink of the collection. One of my favorites though, so let's move on to Birthday Brat. All right, so for Christine's birthday month, we have a bright pink topaz frosted metal polish with silver and rose gold metallic flake foils, iridescent flakes, and scattered hollow. It's such a funny thing that Christine decided for this shade, because I thought there was a lot of debate going on, because I guess some months have multiple birthstones, and I guess maybe opal is an alternative birthstone for this month. Some people are like, you should have picked opal. I don't know. White polishes are always kind of like hit or miss for me. It really depends on the formula. So, and I really like pink. So I'm not mad that they picked this one, but I appreciate if anybody else would have liked to see opal because maybe they prefer that over topaz. But it's interesting as well because I don't know if Christine still feels this way, but I remember her saying years ago that she doesn't really like pink and hearts and stuff like that. So it's interesting that she would pick this. But again, who knows if she's changed her mind. Anyway, that being said, I've never been a big frosted metal fan. It really does depend on the formula for me because frosted metals are one of those things that sometimes I like, sometimes I don't like. In this case, I really like them with the combination of the base shade. I feel like it's a frosted metal, but like not a full frosted metal, if that makes sense. It looks more like a partial frosted metal. That probably doesn't make any sense, but like if I were to look up against a different type of frosted metal, it's one that I can live with. How about I'll just say that? This makes more sense. But I think this is really interesting because this one has a lot going on if you think about it. It's a frosted metal polish, which is already kind of like a little bit of a textured formula. And then you have two different types of flakies in there. Iridescent flakies, I saw 3 types of flakies, and then you also have like a scattered hollow. So this is one that has a lot going on, but I think it all works really well, and it doesn't make it overwhelming. Like sometimes, you'll have a polish that has so much going on, it's too much, but I don't feel like that's going on with this one. I think I like this one quite a bit. All right, moving on to Topaz Tears for November. All right, so before I get into this one, sorry, just a little bit of correction. I think I sort of hinted that the other Birthstone for October was topaz, but it's tourmaline. It's pink. I'm sorry, I don't know why I thought it was topaz. The Birthstone for November is topaz. So this is a dark antique topaz flake formula with a cool brown jelly base, green gold iridescent flakies, bronze shimmer, and gold scattered hollow. This one has a lot of things going on that I just read off, and I think it's sort of an interesting mix because I know when I saw this one, I wasn't sure how I felt about it when I saw it being swatched. I thought maybe there's a little bit going on, too much going on. Sometimes browns, depending on like what you put in with browns, maybe they don't always turn out well. But I think what I appreciate about this one is that even though it has a lot going on, I think it works. I like the brown. I can see the brown, especially like when you're looking at it like head on. And then I can also see some of that green gold shimmer. I can see the bronze shimmer as well. So this one kind of reminds me of like something being bronzed or like gilded. And I really like that effect. So yeah, I really love Topaz Tears, but I wasn't sure about it when I did see it being swatched. I was like, that's a very interesting shade. And I still feel that way. I think that the combination of things in here make it very interesting. Definitely makes this one of the most interesting and I think most dynamic polishes of this collection. So for our last birth month, we have Tanzanite Away, which is a Tanzanite inspired shimmer formula with a royal indigo jelly base, a red magenta micro shimmer, scattered hollow, and blue reflective glitters. This is again one of the more dynamic polishes in the sense that it does have like a lot of elements that go into creating this effect, but I think they all work really well together. I know I said I'm not the biggest person of shimmer. Honestly, I would say it's more like shimmer polishes by themselves because, when you have something that's a little bit more of like a lighter shimmer, it's sort of like that barely there kind of thing, which is not my vibe. But this one is a shimmer formula with other elements, which I feel like enhances that. So like you have that scattered hollow. Anytime I see the scattered hollow, it always reminds me of a reflective glitter, and I love reflective glitters. And then I think you can definitely see that micro shimmer in there, and then you have like the base formula, which is shimmer in jelly. So once you put the second coat on here, you get a really, really beautiful, almost like a dusk kind of color palette. You know what I mean? Like when you're looking at the sun and it's like just about to set, and maybe you live somewhere in the desert or something like that where it's like a purple pink hues. That's the vibe I get from it, and I really love that kind of vibe. So let's get into our final comparisons, and I also want to talk about the collection as a whole and the holiday collection, which was a surprise to me. So yeah, let's get into some comparisons. What a fantastic collection. Honestly, I think the bigger you go with a collection, the harder it is to make sure that like a lot of them are good, if that makes sense. I mean, there's some brands who do really big collections, like 10, 15, 20 pieces, but like of those, there's only like two or three that I really, really love. Whereas once I saw like the general colors for these and I saw the swatches, I loved about 80% of them. And even now, sort of looking at them all next to each other, there's only two that I really don't love, which I mentioned already, which was the Happily Ever Aqua and the Price is Alexandrite. Don't hate those, they're just not my favorites in the collection. If I had to pick out, maybe I'll just pick like a top four, because the other 10 polishes I absolutely love. So picking out a top four, I would say Ruby Madly Deeply, Playing with Sapphire, Para Don't Bother Me, and gosh, the last spot is really hard because I'm like looking at it. I really love Tanzanite Away or Rider Diamond. So I think I'm going to go Tanzanite Away. I really love that one. So those are my top four of the collection. And again, I'm really hoping that Holo Taco can bring back as many of these as possible for anybody that didn't get a chance to pick up the whole collection or that just didn't get a chance to pick up any of these. Again, it's been a very long time since we had a collection sell out like this. And I kind of had this feeling once she dropped it that it was gonna be way more popular than she anticipated. And there's really no way to know that. Like when you do forecasting, it's a guess. It's just an educated guess based on your history, but you can't know if a collection is like 10 times more popular than the last few have been. So that being said, I must say I'm quite surprised that we ended up getting a holiday collection. I mean, we do typically get a holiday collection, but considering that we dropped this collection in October, which was 12 pieces, and then she dropped the fall collection, which was 8 pieces, I didn't really think we were getting a holiday collection. I thought this is a big enough collection that it could double as a holiday collection, but I was wrong. They dropped the Underglow collection last week, I believed. Because I'm not the biggest fan of shimmers, this is probably the first time in a long time that I have foregone purchasing the entire collection. I only picked up a couple. There was 2 shades that I really liked, Vitamin Glow, and I think the other one was Shadow Call, whichever one was the purple. I really loved that one. So I picked that up as well as a couple top shades and some of my rewards. But I'm at this kind of point when it comes to nail polish, especially as it relates to Holo Taco, where Christine does not need my coin if I don't actually love the polish. You know what I mean? When the brand first came out, I really wanted to support the brand. So I ended up sometimes buying things that I don't love offhand. Just to clarify, most of the collections that launch, I do love, but there's some formulas and sometimes a collection that will launch that I'm not hugely in love with, but I wanted to support the brand, so I would purchase it. I feel like I'm at a point in time and the brand's at a point in time where they don't need my coin, and somebody who really loves, X, Y, and Z can purchase it. So I didn't pick up the whole Undergo collection. I just picked up a couple pieces from it. I might do those as like shorts or something like that. So yeah, I don't know if dropping this collection and the holiday collection is a lot. I do think that this year, in relation to last year, it feels like we had less collections than we did last year. And I think just because of the nature of all 3 of these collections, like the Dark Academia, the Birthstone, and the Underglow collection being back to back, I definitely think it seems like a lot because it's 8 pieces, 12 pieces, and 6 pieces. We would always usually have a fall collection, and we would always have a holiday collection, and then Christine would always drop something for her birthday anyway. Not 12 polishers, but she usually does drop something for her birthday. But I do feel like it kind of felt like a lot because the 2 collections that preceded the holiday collection, they just happen to be bigger collections. But again, I think overall, she launched less collections than she did last year. They just happen to be all at the end of the year. That being said, I am super excited to see what we have going forward in the new year. I always look forward to Holo Taco. I look forward to the launches, and I look forward to seeing what we get. I don't think we've had a ton of collection boxes this year. I'm trying to think, outside of the Underglow collection, I can't even, I think the Milk and Cookies had a collection box. I don't know. I don't think we've had a lot of collection boxes, so I look forward to seeing maybe a few more collections next year that have the collection box. I do love using the collection boxes. I like to repurpose them is what I should say. And then I keep the ones that I can't repurpose. But yeah, should be exciting. And like I said, fingers crossed. I hope that maybe Holo Taco is able to bring back as many of these as they can for any of you that weren't able to pick them up, because I know it's not easy for everybody to sort of buy them when they launch, because she does the launch based off of, if I remember correctly, she does it based off of Eastern Standard Time, because most people live in the US that purchase this collection. So that definitely doesn't work for people that live in other parts of the country. But yeah, fingers crossed for that. I hope you guys are able to pick some of these up. If you did pick some of these up, let me know in the comments which ones are your favorite. Did you pick up the whole collection, and which ones that you absolutely love? Well, that has been my time. I loved swatching this collection. I had so much fun. I hope you will check out some of my new videos as well. I did post in my community tab all of the holiday themed videos I'm going to be doing, so check some of those out. They should be fun to do. And then I'll take a break at the end of the year. You guys won't feel the break, but like I'll take a couple weeks off from filming, because I do have pre-recorded content that I will release in January to give myself just a little bit of a break. Happy holidays to everybody. Catch you later. Bye.